there, coming on the air with new developments in a shocking murder-suicide in Virginia, carried out, police say, by the state's former lieutenant governor. New details tonight about their home and the devastation after the crime committed by someone once seen as a rising star in the Democratic Party. Also happening, a ceasefire set to be beginning as we speak right now, 5 Eastern, between Israel and Lebanon. Big question now, will Hezbollah play ball? We're going to take you live to the region with that. Plus, just into us, a new recording from police in New Mexico from actor Timothy Busfield denying he sexually abused any children, how it fits into the charges he now faces. Then the president says he is allowed to disagree with the Pope, who's preaching his anti-war message to the world, why this feud between the White House and the Vatican may go beyond Iran. And in just the last couple of hours, guess who's sitting down with the Artemis II crew? Our own Roker. Live with them for the first time since their splashdown. Watch this.
Take us back to the moment after you've landed in the Pacific and that hatch opens up. What was that like?
What they're telling Al, who's going to join us in just a couple of minutes later on in the show, coming up in a bit. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we begin tonight with that horrific crime in the state of Virginia. The shockwaves there and in the political sphere after the former lieutenant governor of that state killed his wife, then died by suicide in their home overnight. Police describe this shooting as part of a domestic dispute, they say, surrounding what appears to have been a messy divorce between Justin Fairfax and his wife, one of his teenage children, making the call to police. Here's what Dispatch told first responders.
Cars stating that his dad might have stabbed his mom, saying that she's laying on the ground bleeding, can see holes in her shirt.
We got another subject down in the bedroom upstairs. I think this is going to be our subject. He's got a firearm with him, self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Police, of course, found out later that Serena Fairfax died from being shot, not stabbed. But here's what we know so far. A judge had ordered Fairfax to leave the home that he and his wife were living in by April 30th. That's a couple of weeks from now. We also know that last month, Fairfax's wife got custody of their two kids, according to court documents. They were supposed to go back to court for a 3-day trial about splitting assets. Fairfax had been seen as something of a rising star in Virginia politics until the state's top levels of government were rocked by multiple scandals some years ago, including sex assault allegations against Fairfax himself, accusations he always denied. Our Ryan Nobles has made his way to the scene. He is live for us now in Northern Virginia. Tell us more about what we're learning tonight, Ryan, and some of the reaction here.
Well, Hallie, you outlined very well just kind of the events that led up to this horrific scene that took place here last night. And Justin Fairfax and his wife were in the midst of what was a very contentious divorce, which is outlined in very specific court documents that talk about the back and forth between the couple and what had ultimately led to a judge ruling that Fairfax needed to move out of this house behind me by the end of the month. His wife detailed what she said was his struggles with alcohol abuse, the mental health struggles that he was dealing with, that he'd isolated himself from the family. And as a result, she had asked for custody and was awarded full custody of their two teenaged children. She talked about how he's having a very difficult time in the wake of his political losses. Of course, he lost a race for attorney general, then was elected lieutenant governor, but then was caught up in the midst of that sexual assault scandal, and his political career never really recovered. She said he had a hard time keeping work. And all of this led to what happened here last night. Police specifically saying that they believe that there is a court date coming up. There was a court date coming up on Monday where a trial was set to begin where the two would have had their assets split up by a court. And the police investigating this believe it was that incident, that court date that led to what we saw play out here last night, which led to the death of the former lieutenant governor and his wife, Hallie.
At one point, you know, when you look at who Fairfax was, he nearly became Virginia's governor before his own set of scandals stopped that push, right?
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. And I covered Justin Fairfax from almost the very beginning of his career, where he was a young former prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office who had mounted a upstart challenge for attorney general. He lost that primary, but impressed a lot of people, and then became the Democratic Party's nominee for lieutenant governor and won that race. But it was during that time as lieutenant governor where he got caught up in a trio of scandals that took place in Richmond. You'll remember the governor at that time, Ralph Northam. There was a photo from his medical school yearbook of a man dressed in blackface, another in a Ku Klux Klan robe that was attributed to Ralph Northam. There were calls on Northam to resign. Northam was ready to resign and Fairfax was set to be governor, but then two different women came forward with two completely different sexual assault accusations against Fairfax. There were then calls for Fairfax to resign at the time, and he never really recovered from those accusations. He vehemently denied that he was involved in either of these instances. He said that they did not occur in the way that these women described them. He even volunteered and then took a polygraph test when he attempted to run for governor after the fact. But there was a real sense that those political losses, being caught up in that scandal and never recovering, are part of what led to what happened here last night. Hallie.
Ryan Nobles live for us there in Annandale, Virginia. Ryan, thank you. We should note here that if you or somebody you know is in crisis, there is help with the suicide hotline at 988. If you or somebody you know is dealing with domestic abuse, 1-800-799-SAFE. There's also the hotline.org as well. More to come from Northern Virginia as we get any more details, but we've got to take you overseas tonight because as we speak, it's 5:06 Eastern, looking at the clock, and within the last 6 minutes, a ceasefire was supposed to have begun between Israel and Lebanon. We've talked about the violence between them, the attacks on Lebanon, the whole thing announced by President Trump, set to last 10 days. And if talks go well, if the ceasefire holds, it could be a big hurdle to trying to end the U.S. war with Iran in the view of the Trump administration. The president wants to host talks between the two, praising the peace in just the last couple of hours.
It's a very nice little package for about a week, and we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping, and we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
Remember, Lebanon's been a lasting front, even after strikes stopped between the U.S. and Iran. This is a bridge in the country Israel blew up this morning. More than 2,000 people have died in Lebanon since the war began, with more than 1 million displaced. But the question hanging over it all, hanging over this ceasefire that is beginning now, will Hezbollah play ball? Remember, that's the Iran-backed militia group that Israel has said it's really after. All of it meeting some skepticism on Wall Street, but the winning streak continues there with the S&P and the NASDAQ hitting new record highs. No huge moves here, like we've seen in the past when there's been sort of big war-related news as the U.S. has implemented this war against Iran here. Ali Canal is going to get into all things economy in a second, but I want to start with Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. And Matt, I understand you spoke with a senior leader in Hezbollah. How do they view this ceasefire here, that brokered between the Lebanese and Israeli governments?
Yeah, well, it's exactly like you said, except flipped around. They are waiting to see if Israel will abide by their side of the ceasefire. This Hezbollah leader saying that Israel has to do what it says it's going to do. And, you know, all of this, because it looks so imposed, because this looks like the Trump administration pressing this ceasefire on Lebanon and Israel and Hezbollah simply as a cog in the machine of that broader ceasefire between Israel and the United States on one side and Iran on the other, it does look as though this one is a little shakier. However, this Hezbollah representative I spoke to said that they are committed to abiding by the terms of the ceasefire. Their suspicions, as I mentioned, lay with the Israelis, and they have reason to believe that. After the last ceasefire in November 2024, the Israelis hit targets in Lebanon on a daily basis, even after that ceasefire, for more than a year. So the Israelis do have a habit of continuing to strike even after a ceasefire has been put in place.
Let's talk about the other piece of this, which is, of course, that blockade by the U.S. From Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. We've seen some of the Navy ships leading this charge. The defense secretary today says that blockade's not going to stop anytime soon without a deal. Let me play a little bit of that.
We'd prefer to do it the nice way, through a deal led by our great vice president and negotiating team, or we can do it the hard way.
One of the things we've been talking about, Matt, is that when you look at the sort of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran, the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, they are not two separate things. They are both pieces of a whole. Fair?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's one of the things that we're saying. You know, this does feel like this is kind of and for Hezbollah and for Israel, kind of an addendum to the larger ceasefire that spans the whole region. And so that's why this seems a little shakier. As President Trump said, it was a neat little package. I think that was the term he used, just a 10-day long ceasefire. And it really will go a long way, though, toward possibly either imposing that ceasefire with Iran or extending the current one. It is so essential that Iran gets to see that all of its proxy groups throughout the region are somehow involved.
Matt Bradley, line for us there in the region. Matt, we're glad to have you. Thank you very much. Let me bring in Hallie now. And here's what the president said in just the last couple of hours about all of this. And specifically, interestingly, on the economy, the thing we've been talking about so much, what this means for the price of oil and gas. Here's what he said on gas.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon.
Talk us through that. What's the reality check there on that, Hallie?
Well, the reality is that gas prices are still high, and they are significantly higher than from where we were pre-war. We still have oil prices trading around $90 a barrel. That has a direct impact on prices at the pump. Nationally, we're still well above $4 a gallon. You're seeing that on your screen right now. Last month, we were at $3.72. But guess what? February pre-war, we were below $3 a gallon. And we know that prices tend to rise really quickly. It's a lot harder to get those prices to come back down. Now, overall, when you look at the stock market gains, as you were alluding to earlier, yes, we are trading at these record highs. I think a lot of that was priced into the market because we've had this string of better than feared news over the past week or so. So markets seem to be taking a little bit of a breather. We've had this insane run up since the lows of the war. But with oil prices still high, with gas prices still high, there's still a big affordability question when you think about not just gas, but also the ripple effects into food, travel, and shipping costs as well.
How about this interesting report from the Wall Street Journal that's out that says the Pentagon wants car companies and some other manufacturers to help out more with making weapons because stockpiles have been depleted with the Ukraine and Iran wars. What's your sense? Are automakers, are car makers going to get behind that?
Yeah, really interesting report here. Ford, General Motors, they were both cited in this report. I reached out to both of them. Ford did not get back to me, but a GM spokesperson did. The car company telling me, quote, for more than 100 years, GM has supported America's security, safety, and those who protect our nation. While that commitment continues, we do not comment on speculation. So would neither confirm nor deny there. But if we zoom out, the Pentagon essentially asking if these geopolitical conflicts drag on, do we have enough supply? There is historical precedent here. Back in World War II, car companies literally stopped producing cars. They switched to military equipment. Now, we are not there yet. According to this report, this is all still early conversations, but it does go to show how seriously the government is thinking about some of these supply constraints, especially as, like you said, we're not just dealing with the war in Iran, but also the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Hallie?
Hallie Canal, thank you very much for that. Let's talk about a very different kind of fight. This one that the president has, you could call it one of rhetoric, perhaps, with the Pope, which the president says it's not actually a fight at all. He says it is not personal, it is politics.
I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
The president is allowed to disagree, of course, but we're going to get back to that in a second. Put a little asterisk on that comment. Here's the Pope. You see him, Pope Leo here. He's been traveling. He's in Cameroon, again, pressing his anti-war rhetoric, decrying a world, in his words, ravaged by a handful of tyrants in his calls for peace. Listen.
Jesus told us, blessed are the peacemakers, but woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the caution on that from the Pope. Don't overread into it. It is the norm for the Pope to write up speeches for this trips, for his team to pre-write speeches like way in advance. So don't interpret the president necessarily to be one of those tyrants, okay? So caveat there. That said, all of this is potentially putting the Holy Father's family in the crosshairs here. You see the Pope with his brothers. Police just today are giving the all clear after a bomb threat at his brother John's home in Illinois. Nobody was hurt. To be clear, no evidence it's tied to anything related to this presidential spat at the moment. Let me bring in Monica Alba at the White House. So, Monica, we played what the president had to say a couple of hours ago there when he was talking with reporters. And let's be clear on this. The president has talked about this idea of a nuclear weapon before. He says, I can disagree. The president can disagree. That's true. But the president goes on to say, I think Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. There's no evidence that the Pope wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon, though, right?
No, Hallie, no. There isn't any evidence of that in a situation where the president is sort of trying to make clear where he doesn't see eye to eye with the Pope. He did talk about the Pope's brother, who he says is a big supporter of his, which is something that he has spoken to repeatedly. But today he did seem to sort of de-escalate this back and forth, this feud. I think the president was trying to make it most clear, even though he hasn't in the last couple of days with some of his social media posts, that he can have his opinions and the Pope can have other opinions about the war overall. And it is clear from the Pope's comments that he is trying to make this a broader commentary on seeking peace in the world, not necessarily just in the Middle East, but beyond that, which is a message that he has repeated many times since he became the Pope. But it is notable that this is now also taking on a different political lens through potential funding that might be affected specifically to groups like Catholic Charities, with the Trump administration is actually cutting some funding from, but it may not be directly related to this exactly. There's a question about that. But we heard a little bit more from the Archbishop of Miami on this today, and here's what he had to say.
And you see the situation in Cuba, the continuing situation in Haiti, and places of Central America, and certainly it would be prudent to be prepared to protect the best interests of children that might arrive here unaccompanied.
So specifically, this program that is, it seems, going to lose its funding in the coming months does help migrant children in South Florida. But according to the White House, they are saying that this was a determination that was made months ago, that 49 charities, they say, that had federal grant money to care for unaccompanied minors who are undocumented were informed that their grants would not be renewed, and that only 2 of these charities were Catholic groups. So they are pivoting back to saying this was a decision that was made about something else, not related to the ongoing discussion with the Pope, but certainly taken as part of the context for the overall tone and tenor with some of these groups. Hallie.
Monica Alba live for us there on the North Lawn. Mon, thank you very much. Let's get to this record-breaking heat wave now, sweeping nearly half the country, leaving millions of people under temperatures that are like 15 to 30 degrees above average tonight. It is hot. It is early for it to be this hot. It's not July. It's basically barely April. I guess mid-April, but still. At the same time, look what else we're dealing with. 20 million people across the Midwest under flood alerts. You've got evacuations that have been ordered in parts of Michigan. More rain all the way. Officials say it's putting one dam there at real risk of breaking. We've got team coverage of this tonight. Bill Cairns has the forecast, but I want to start with Emily Aketa in New York City. Listen, what do we like to say on this show? If it's summer, it's hot, that's not breaking news. However, when it's this early in the season and it is this dangerously hot, it's significant. It can be threatening.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep asking myself, wait, what month is it again? And you can see people have really been gathering along the Hudson River here to get a little bit of relief from the stifling heat. But before I get more into these scorching temperatures, I want to point your attention to Michigan, where there's a bit of an urgent situation underway. Some people being evacuated in northern Michigan. There are a number of dams at risk, with crews working around the clock. Officials describing how they are trying to reroute water around dams using pumps. They're looking for all kinds of different solutions, evacuating some neighborhoods because they've just been hammered with not only an unrelenting rain, but also snow melt from the winter time. Officials describing that they are in crisis mode as they're trying to find a solution dealing with this weather. And we've seen wild weather across much of the Midwest, flooding also in Wisconsin. Milwaukee saw about a month of rain in just 1 to 2 hours in parts of the city. It forced some baseball fans leaving the Milwaukee Brewers game last night they were actually stranded. Some people seen wading through waterways, and all of this as much of the Midwest is also recovering from a number of tornadoes. Now, the story for tens of millions of Americans up and down the East Coast is this early burst of what feels like summer heat. You can see it here. People have been kind of running along here all day long. Officials urging people to remember the things. Don't leave certain types of things in cars, to be careful with how long you're out in this heat, especially in this early time of year. We're talking about April. Here's how baseball fans outside of Yankee Stadium are bearing the heat. Take a listen here.
I think it's like 87 degrees right now in the thick middle of the day. It's not ideal. We gotta stay hydrated.
So we're sitting right behind home plate, so it's gonna be some sun probably for the whole game. So we gotta be prepared, get some shade.
And while dozens of record highs could be broken throughout this week, don't put away the winter jackets yet, as I'm sure Bill can tell you more about, because that weather whiplash will set in with possibly freezing temperatures for parts of the country next week.
Emily Aketa, thank you very much. Bill, what is up with that? Are we going to get that kind of weather whiplash? It sounds like it, huh?
We'll have some people dealing with sunburns and snow at the same time. So, yeah, that's not something we have very often. So let's start with the severe threat for today. We did have a tornado warning in northwestern portions of Pennsylvania near Oil City. That has been dropped. We do think these severe storms will roll, especially through areas of southern New York, the Binghamton area, to Oneonta, Syracuse, Rochester, Utica, eventually towards the Capital District. Only one severe thunderstorm warning now just north of Farmington with this line as it slides on through. This is the one that had the tornado warning with it previously. So this is for the severe weather risk the rest of today. We're also tracking some pretty strong storms in areas of Missouri. But tomorrow looks to be probably the worst day of the week. We should have not just tornadoes, even the potential of strong tornadoes anywhere in this enhanced risk area. This is where we're going to see the most widespread storms. So that's from Oklahoma City, Tulsa to Kansas City, back up through the eastern half of Iowa and southern Wisconsin. And if we get a strong tornado at this time tomorrow, it would likely be from Davenport to Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Dubuque, La Crosse to Portage, Madison. This is the area of greatest concern for a strong tornado. So make sure you have all your family plans and preparations in place. And we have broken some record highs today. We didn't quite get there in D.C. The record was 92, but Philadelphia 91. You broke your record, Norfolk 91. But as we mentioned, that cold is now moving through the northern Rockies, and tomorrow it's going to plow through areas of the northern plains. By the time we get to Saturday, Minneapolis, a high of only 46. And then by the time we get to Sunday, those temperatures will crash in the Great Lakes and in the east. And we may even see some snow in areas of northern New England on Sunday evening. So, yeah, be prepared for big changes.
Sunburn and frostbite at the same time. Make that make sense. Bill Caron, so strange. Thank you very much for watching it all. I'm sure we'll talk again tomorrow. Appreciate you. Also tonight, in just the last few hours, we are seeing the first charges against an ICE agent involved in that federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota earlier this year. Charges against an ICE officer, with the prosecutor there accusing this person of pointing a gun directly at two people inside a car while he drove alongside them on the shoulder in an unmarked SUV. He's now charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon, and there's a warrant out for his arrest. He was part of Operation Metro Surge. Remember that, when the president deployed 3,000 federal officers to Minnesota. 2 people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were shot and killed by federal officers during that period. The Department of Homeland Security did not immediately return our request for comment. Ryan Riley is joining us now. Ryan, can you help us understand this a little bit, who's bringing the charges, what we're learning here, and whether this is just the beginning?
Yeah, so this is the county attorney who announced these charges, which makes it this sort of really interesting and unique scenario where you have a county prosecutor bringing charges against federal agents. And the question now becomes, what response will the Trump administration have to that? Are they going to stand by the officer? Are they going to try to move this to federal court? Just a lot of questions raised by this. But here's some of what the prosecutor had to say.
Mr. Morgan then visibly slowed his vehicle to match the pace of the victim's vehicle, opened his window, and pointed his duty weapon directly at both victims in the other vehicle while continuing to drive illegally on the shoulder. Both the driver and the passenger in the victim's vehicle felt threatened by Mr. Morgan's actions.
And she, called that behavior extremely dangerous. But this is obviously, I think, one of those cases that's going to be really closely watched. And I think that response from the Justice Department, from the Trump administration regarding what handles here, or whether they defend the officer is going to be something to really watch closely.
Okay, Ryan Riley, keep an eye on that one for us. Thank you very much for the updates. Much more to get to here on the show, including coming up the moment a car rammed into a thrift shop in Oklahoma. Well, we're learning about how it happened. Plus, Move Over Punch, the new monkey with a stuffy bestie. Coming up. So tonight, big Artemis II update. We are hearing from all 4 astronauts together after their return to Earth, after the big splashdown from the historic moon mission. And can I just tell you, it got kind of deep. They got really into some heavy stuff about like human consciousness and what we experience as beings in this universe. Listen to this.
When the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I think all four of us, I turned to Victor and I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we are looking at right now.
It's just like incredible to think about what they did and how they're processing and reflecting on all this after what you're looking at here. I know you remember this, the splashdown. It was only 6 days ago. These four spent 10 days in space. They went farther than any human's ever gone before. And we're learning more about what it was like and what it was like in the capsule. You knew we had to cover this. Christina Koch, she brought something very special to her and to me and to all of us from Philly, confetti from the Super Bowl win. Did you know that the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year, 2025? I just wanted to remind you in case you weren't sure. And she said, she posted, I flew confetti from Super Bowl 59 around the moon. Our own Al Roker got to sit down with the whole crew after today's news conference. Look at this. Watch this.
Take us back to the moment after you've landed in the Pacific and that hatch opens up. What was that like?
The Navy has shared some video from the outside going in, and we're trying to download our video. If you look at the end of that, I'm holding up my iPhone like I'm some sports spectator at this cavalry coming to rescue us.
The adrenaline started pumping, and when that hatch opened, I was completely overcome, and I just screamed. I was so happy. It was just pure elation and just a visceral emotional reaction to not only being home, but people there coming to us and bringing us out. Unspeakable joy.
We really wanted this to be about humanity going on this journey with us. And that idea about togetherness, it's one thing to message that, to say that, hey, this is what we want to do. But to have people respond to how we operated together.
Guess who's with us now from Johnson Space Center in Houston? Al, you got to talk to them. It is so cool. It's so exciting. I will tell you that when Reed Weissman started talking about coming back to Earth with the heat shield holding, he's looking out the window. I'm like, I can't even imagine. You're coming back. You're flying through this thing. You're like, does this thing hold? What was it like for them? What did they tell you about that?
Well, it's kind of interesting, Hallie, in that, look, we all were like holding our breath because there's going to be that period of time where there was no radio communication for like 6 minutes. And there was some concern. In fact, the pilot, Victor Glover, talks about that and told me what he and Reed were seeing. Check it out.
I could tell that we were inside a fireball, but Reed and I had panoramic views.
We really did.
And the very first thing I thought was, is it supposed to be that big? It was a lot of fire out there. And it lasted for a long time. And it just, at some point, I just started looking across the entire flame going, well, it looks the same. And then I think we noticed very similarly at the same time, little pieces flying out. But then there was a red glow in the orange, a very distinct red and bigger plume, which we later decided might be where the separation bolt interface was melting off. But I mean, we were just, I was hyper sensitive to everything, every noise, every sensation.
Yeah, and so it was really amazing. And then they landed, and Christina Koch talked about while they were waiting for the Navy divers to get to them, Navy swimmers, she had snuck in the capsule some M&Ms. And they say, hey, anybody want a snack? So she's handing out M&Ms while they're waiting for the hatch to open up.
Astronaut, they really are just like us. I have M&Ms on set like every day. I'm obsessed with this. So let me ask you this. You were there. I mean, I just, an indelible memory will be you and Tom watching this as it happened. Just incredible moments when we saw the takeoff, the splashdown, et cetera. What did they say to you that surprised you? Did you hear anything from this conversation that you went, I'm shocked to hear that?
Well, I don't know if I was shocked, but they were saying that they had grown so close with each other that they were going through withdrawal over these last few days because they haven't been together. When I was talking to them, it was the first time they'd been together in 6 days. So they really miss each other. But the other thing that I think they were taken aback, because a lot of them tried to be present with their families, was that how much this mission meant to so many, not just here in America, but around the world. And I think that they realized that the Artemis mission has brought people together, that, you know, that we could all find something to all root for. And, you know, when you listen to them talk for a long period of time, you realize they're beyond astronauts. They're almost like philosophers. They're very philosophical about this and about the team, not just them, but the big picture team from NASA, where literally almost 100,000 hands have touched that capsule and that space vehicle to get them to where they were and around and back again.
It's like what it takes to get us live on the air, Al. I'm not quite 100. Can I ask, behind the scenes, Al, they seem so close. Are they like that for real? Like when you're watching them interact as you were sitting down, et cetera, that camaraderie feels so real watching it. What's it like in person?
It is. They are truly a team. They are a family. You know, and look, I first met them 3 years ago, and they were pretty cohesive right off the bat. But now they are inseparable. They can almost finish each other's sentences. They just instinctively pick up from each other. I'm just so impressed with all of them. You know, Victor was here with his daughters, as was Reed, and I will tell you the one thing, Hallie. I want somebody to love me. I think my wife Deborah loves me as much as Christina Cook's dog loves her.
You saw that, the viral video. Although some people did say if she was gone for 5 minutes, the dog would have the same reaction, but I don't think so. I think 10 days, it's totally different when you know your owner's been to space. We know Deborah loves you that much. Al Roker, we're so excited to have you with us. Thank you. We're thrilled to hear about your conversation with those four. We're going to look for more of it coming up tonight. Al, thank you. On Nightly News, 6:30 Eastern, of course. And then tomorrow on Today, Al's big interview. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1. In Ecuador, 11 people have been killed after a bus ended up in a ravine. You see firefighters here trying to get a handle on the flames that broke out right after the crash. Officials say the bus veered off the road, but no word yet on why it lost control. Number 2, FIFA officials are pushing back today. Remember we told you about this whole thing about potentially super high fares to get to the World Cup this year or later this year? FIFA says they're surprised by what the governor of New Jersey had to say about it. They say they don't know of any global sports orgs that have to pay for fans to travel to games. The New Jersey governor, you see her there, has clapped back a couple of times now online. She says people in her state will not foot a nearly $50 million bill to get to and from the games. They don't want to be spending $100 for a train ticket. Number 3, surveillance video capturing the moment a car went crashing into a store in Oklahoma. You see it just barely missing. Look at that. Oof. People inside, it just barely misses them, takes down those racks of clothes yet. We're still waiting on word to hear about if anybody was hurt. Number 4, A'ja Wilson making WNBA history. She's the league MVP. She's signing a record-breaking 3-year, $5 million contract with the Aces out in Vegas. Wilson's contract is coming on the heels of the new collective bargaining agreement between the league and players that boosts salaries and benefits. The Aces will try to defend their championship when the WNBA season starts next month. Number 5, meet Punch the Monkey 2.0, kind of. This is Yuji. He's from Mexico, and just like Punch, he's not going to let go of his favorite little stuffy there. Keepers say this little toy basically acts as his mom after he was abandoned. There's some science behind the stuffies. They're used to help baby Yuji's development so he can get stronger and meet the rest of his monkey friends eventually at the zoo. It's very adorable. People love a stuffy and an animal. It's true. Also tonight, let's take you up to the sky because the future of Spirit Airlines is apparently up in the air. They could reportedly be sold off for parts, shutting down. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice in less than a year, and there was that failed merger with JetBlue a couple years ago. Now, multiple sources are telling Bloomberg and CNBC that Spirit could decide to liquidate as early as this week. Spirit tells NBC News, we don't comment on market rumors and speculation. Keep in mind that the spiking cost of fuel means a new pinch for the airline, and it's not just Spirit dealing with those sky-high costs. Christine Romans is watching it all for us.
Hey, Hallie, more trouble for Spirit Airlines. The company's in bankruptcy. It's been in bankruptcy twice in the past year and a half. And now you have the war with Iran spiking jet fuel prices. Jet fuel prices have nearly doubled since the war in Iran began about 7 weeks ago. And that is a significant cost for airlines, especially a struggling airline like Spirit. CNBC and Bloomberg News quoting sources saying that the company could be close to liquidation as early as this week. That's different than bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is when you're in the protection of the court and you're trying to find a way through your troubles. Liquidation means the road is over. It's the end. You are selling the planes, you are selling all of the assets, and you're paying your investors and you're paying your creditors. So that's really the end of the road. It would be the end of the road. NBC News asked the company to comment. They say they do not comment on rumors or speculation, but clearly a difficult time ahead here for Spirit. So we talked to the folks at Going. It's a travel expert website about what people should do if you have a ticket on on Spirit. What should you do? And they told us, don't cancel the ticket. If you cancel the ticket, you might not get a refund. If you keep the ticket and the company goes into liquidation, then you have a better chance of getting a refund. We also asked, should you book travel on Spirit? And they said, no, you shouldn't unless you think you're not going to get paid back. Also, that this is a competition issue as well. You've got airfares that are rising, again, because of the jet fuel issue. You've got baggage fees that are rising because of jet fuel costs. And you want to have low-cost carriers in the mix. That helps competition and keeps prices low for everyone. So that's the other side. Even if you're not a fan of Spirit, even if you don't fly Spirit, you want, these travel experts tell us, you want Spirit in the mix. You want low-cost carriers in the mix because they keep competition up for everyone, which keeps fares down. Back to you.
Christine Romans, thank you. Coming up, how one hockey team ended up hosting a fundraiser for the family of a man convicted of manslaughter, or at least promoting it. Plus, the wild police chase on horseback, the moment an officer and his steed caught an alleged thief. New audio into us tonight from New Mexico police, releasing a new recording from an initial interview with actor Timothy Busfield and his wife, where he denied sexually abusing children. Listen.
Never anything of any sexual, any weird ever.
Right.
With them. Just that's disgusting.
Right.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Remember, Busfield is accused of inappropriately touching two boys on the set of a show he was directing from 2022 to 2024. He's now facing 4 counts of criminal sexual contact of a child and has pleaded not guilty to the charges. If Busfield's not a household name in your home, some of the shows he was on may have been The West Wing, 30-something, etc. Camila Bernal is following this story for us. Talk to us about the release of this call and what it signifies about the investigation here.
Yeah, Hallie. So this is actually the first time that he realizes that this is something that has gone to police, and even tells the detective this and says, well, I didn't realize that people had gone to police about this. And basically the detective is asking him to explain Hollywood to him, to explain how it was like on set. What did he do? Was he with the children? Was he ever alone with the children? He says, no, there's always someone there. And then the detective also asked him, did you tickle the children? And he says, it wouldn't be uncommon. I don't necessarily remember, but it's not uncommon. So then the wife jumps into the conversation, and take a listen to what she told police.
I'm going to just jump in here, too, as the former kid actor. It's really important that the kids feel comfortable with the people they're working with. So it's just standard practice to become as friendly with them as possible so that they trust you, so they open up on screen.
And both of them obviously have defended all of these allegations. Trial is set for next year, so we'll see what happens. Hallie.
Camila Bernal live for us there in L.A. Camila, thank you very much. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, look at this new video of a police officers there saving a woman's life on the side of the road in New Jersey. You see an officer giving her CPR. Police say she had a heart attack while driving and hit a pole. She is fine now. She later reunited with the officers to thank them. Out of our Midwest Bureau, a pretty bizarro coincidence in Illinois. A Titanic exhibit at a local museum, you see it, flooded on the same date that the actual ship sank back in 1912. The owner says there were storms the night before, but only that part of the museum ended up taking on water. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, this New York City cop, can we say it, not horsing around. Look.
Stop! Please stop! Stop! Stop running!
They're going fast. He's an officer on horseback, obviously, chasing down this suspected purse thief in Manhattan. He was on patrol when the person whose purse it was, got the attention of the officer by yelling for help. Eventually, the suspect was caught with the help of somebody nearby, and the purse was later returned. Also tonight, some big questions in the hockey world over how a team ended up raising money for the family of a former police officer convicted of manslaughter. Let's bring up to speed here. I want to show you here Eric Duran, sentenced just last week to at least 3 years in prison for the killing of 30-year-old Eric Dupre. Back in 2023, Duran was in the New York City Police Department, tried to arrest Dupre during a drug bust. Dupre fled on a scooter, one of those electric scooters. So Duran threw a filled-up cooler at him. The cooler hit Dupre, causing him to crash into a tree. And police say Dupre died instantly. Members of the NYPD protested the conviction. They allege it discourages officers from doing their jobs. Duran plans to appeal. Here's where the hockey team comes in, the New York Islanders. They flashed a QR code on the scoreboard asking fans to send money to the convicted killer's family. Marquise Francis joins us now, and I know we're out to kind of everybody involved on this. The victim's family frustrated, reportedly, about this flashing of the on-screen fundraiser, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Hallie. We reached out to pretty much everyone involved in this situation, and we've only heard back from the attorney from the victim's family, which I will get to in a bit. But to answer your question on how did the Islanders or why did they even do this? Well, according to the Associated Press, it was someone from the New York Post that informed the president of the police union that the Islanders wanted to do something about this. I want to pull up a full screen to show you. On the left side of this full screen, you can see the president of the police union, Vincent Vallelong, alongside the Islanders co-owner, John Ledecky, right there on the left side of the screen. All the way on the right side, what you just noted, you see a picture of Eric Duran along with the QR code where people in the arena could directly donate to the defense fund for Duran. It was launched on Monday. Underneath, you can see the words "Fight for Justice." And then in the middle, the Islanders said that a portion of the 50-50 raffle would be donated directly to the defense fund. And according to the Islanders, they raised nearly $45,000. Now, this afternoon, I spoke to the attorney for the victim's family and asked him how the family was doing. And he actually said he didn't speak to them about it because he didn't want to re-traumatize them. But he did offer his own reaction. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think it's outrageous. I mean, this is what the New York Islanders chooses as their charity, somebody who's been convicted of manslaughter. Maybe they should consider hosting another fundraiser for the children that are now left fatherless of Eric Dupre.
And Hallie, this is the first time in about 20 years that an NYPD officer is facing jail time for an on-duty killing. Hallie?
Marquise Francis, thank you very much for that. Coming up here on the show, how the Triumphal Arch just got one step closer to being built in the nation's capital. That's next. President Trump now one step closer to putting an everlasting mark on the nation's capital, another one. And we're not talking about politics here. The U.S. Fine Arts Commission voted today yes on these designs. Here they are for his Triumphal Arch. This is basically a green light for this huge sort of physical structure that has created a huge, let's say, emotional controversy, I think, in Washington. They got like 1,000 public comments urging the commission to shoot it down. Why? Well, look, it's very large. It would be the tallest arch in the world if it's built. You can see how it stacks up against some other sites on the National Mall. It'll tower over the Lincoln Memorial. It's going to be like kind of close to the size of the Capitol building, about half the height of the Washington Monument. There still has to be a final vote, but this is a big step. The victories come the same day, however, that a federal judge blocked any above-ground construction on another big project for the president, the East Wing Ballroom. The administration is already appealing. Let me bring in, what do you call it, resident architectural correspondent these days, exactly. Andrea Mitchell. Andrea,
I actually studied architecture.
So you're the perfect person to talk about this. Walk us through the sort of public outcry around the arch here. The president seems very committed to it.
There's even a lawsuit from veterans who say that it
really destroys the sanctity of a memorial site.
Because it's close to Arlington National Cemetery.
Well, it's basically on the circle, and it will block the view of the Eternal Flame with John F. Kennedy's memorial. It'll block the view from Washington of the Eternal Flame. You will not be able to see the, Arlington Cemetery from the district. And it's very, very big. It's on that circle right by the Memorial Bridge, which is actually a very busy roundabout. And the president wanted it to be the biggest in the world. He was inspired by the Arc de Triomphe when they were in Paris on Bastille Day, when he was first president. He wanted to remember the parade.
Yeah.
And then they learned that the tanks could not go on the parade, so he had to delay the parade that he wanted. But we're seeing now in his second term that he is, as you say, putting his imprint on Washington architecturally, with his signature on the currency, with all of the other, ways that he is building a legacy. And it's still, and by the way, this Fine Arts Commission, which voted, was stacked with his appointees. So he took the regular people off of it.
You talk about the president seeking to build a legacy here in Washington quite physically with his construction projects. You got to ask about the ballroom, because there was a setback on that today, although the Trump administration says they'll appeal, right?
Yeah, this is federal judge Richard Leone, and he had a blistering opinion rejecting it. They came back and appealed, basing it on security for the president and his family, because there is a bunker underneath it, a little hospital unit, and it will have bulletproof glass and all sorts of other things. And so they said that they wanted to, in this appeal to the Third Circuit, have it built because of security. He came back and said, you can keep building underground, but not above ground, and basically didn't buy their security argument, but said, okay, build the bunker, but hold off on the ballroom until we hear the appeals. But none of this is going to change for the next couple of days, 1 week. So the cranes are still building. He's held it up so that they can file their appeal.
Okay, interesting. Andrea Mitchell, thank you very much for the updates on that. Plenty to watch. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, Victoria Beckham speaking for the first time about that feud with her son that exploded into public. We'll tell you what we're hearing from her tonight next. Victoria Beckham now speaking for the first time publicly since her oldest son went public on the rift with his family. She's telling the Wall Street Journal now that we've always tried to be the best parents we can be. She says we've been in the public eye for more than 30 years right now, and all we've ever tried to do is love and protect our children. Remember, earlier this year, Brooklyn Beckham went after the former Spice Girl and her soccer star husband, David Beckham, in a series of explosive Instagram posts, claiming they tried to bribe him to sign away the rights to his name before he married his now wife, and that his mom, he claims, danced inappropriately with him at their wedding, adding his parents value public promotion and endorsements above all else. Well, we don't know exactly what went on behind the scenes. We do know that there is a lot of money on the line for brand Beckham. The couple is worth about $500 million combined, built from her fashion brand and his endorsement deals and owning that Major League Soccer team. Zainal Hamamdjian is in London following all of this. Victoria Beckham here, it seems to have chosen her words carefully now, speaking publicly, because as we've laid out, it's not just personal for them. It could, because their personal life is also so intertwined with their public and business life. That's part of this, too, the business aspect.
Absolutely, Hallie. And bear in mind where this was published. This was in the Wall Street Journal. Victoria Beckham is many things, but she's also by now a very savvy businesswoman. And she gave this interview to the Wall Street Journal to promote her upcoming collection with The Gap, where she's teaming up with The Gap. But of course, there's this elephant in the room, and that is the public rift with her eldest of 4 children, Brooklyn Beckham. So it was inevitable that she was going to be asked about it. As you say, she said, all we've ever tried to do is protect our children and love our children. She doesn't actually directly reference Brooklyn, which is interesting, but it's worth reminding viewers here of what else Brooklyn Beckham said back in January in that lengthy post. He said, "My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family, quote unquote, love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations." Now, her 27-year-old son there, effectively cutting ties with the family, accusing his parents of projecting this family closeness for commercial gain. We did reach out to Brooklyn Beckham, how we have yet to hear back. David Beckham, his father, was in Davos back in January. He didn't directly comment on this specific issue. He did talk about social media and children in general, and he said children are allowed to make mistakes. The Beckhams, as you know, Hallie, are extraordinarily popular, not only here in the UK, but around the world. And Victoria Beckham was a pop star. She's now an established designer. And so for a lot of people, there is an entertainment value here. People have debated which camp they're in. But at the very core here is a very private matter between a father and a mother and their son. And so it's sad. So hopefully in time, they can patch things up and find peace. But for now, it is still quite tense, it appears, between the Beckhams and their son.
Clearly. Danielle Hamamjid, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for watching. That's a wrap for this hour. I will see you on Sunday on Nightly News at a special time. We're on at 5 o'clock Eastern this weekend. And there we will begin our series of special reports from New Mexico on Jeffrey Epstein's former ranch, Zorro Ranch, where at least 10 girls and women say they were groomed and assaulted by Epstein dating back decades. The new investigation by state lawmakers, our conversations with survivors, and a closer look at what many say were missed opportunities for justice. Again, Sunday on Nightly News. We'll have more right here Monday on this show, NBC News Now. More coverage picks up right now. We are coming on the air with new developments in a shocking murder-suicide in Virginia, carried out, police say, by the state's former lieutenant governor. New details tonight about the home and the devastation after the crime committed by somebody once seen as a rising star in the Democratic Party. We'll take you live to Virginia. Also new tonight, a ceasefire set to start in just the last hour between Israel and Lebanon. The big question now, will Hezbollah play ball? We'll take you live to the region. And the first state charges now against an ICE agent involved in the president's immigration crackdown in Minnesota. What we're learning about those new accusations. Plus, the president says he is allowed to disagree with the Pope, who's preaching his anti-war message to the world. Why this feud between the White House and the Vatican may go beyond Iran. Then how an NHL team got caught up in a controversial fundraiser for an ex-police officer convicted of manslaughter. We've got the victim's lawyer responding to our team. Coming up a little bit later on in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and tonight's shockwaves across Virginia and the political sphere after the former lieutenant governor of that state is believed to have killed his wife and then died by suicide in their home overnight. Police described the shooting as part of a domestic dispute around what appears to have been a messy divorce between Justin Fairfax and his wife, one of their teen kids, making the call to police. Here's what dispatch told first responders.
Car stating that his dad might have stabbed his mom, saying that she's laying on the ground bleeding, can see holes in her shirt.
We got another subject down in the bedroom upstairs. I think this is going to be our subject. He's got a firearm with him, self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
Police discovered later that Serena Fairfax also died from being shot and not stabbed. Here's what we know so far. A judge had ordered Fairfax to leave the home that he and his wife and children were living in by April 30th, a couple weeks from now. We know that last month, Fairfax's wife got custody of their two kids, according to court documents. They were supposed to go back to court for a 3-day trial about splitting assets. Fairfax was seen as something of a rising star in Virginia politics, and still the state's top levels of government were rocked by multiple scandals, including sex assault allegations against Fairfax himself, accusations that he always denied. I want to bring in Gary Grumbach, who is on the ground for us in Virginia. It's just a horrific situation here, and your heart breaks for those teenage children, the son, the daughter, who were apparently in the home, police say, when this all happened.
They were home when it happened, the teenage son making that 911 call to police. We do know this has been a years-long messy divorce, and we know that from a lot of the court records from these divorce proceedings that have been made public that we've gone through today. One of the big things that is written in these documents is about the heavy alcohol use that they say Justin Fairfax was part of over the past several years. After those sexual abuse allegations came forward in 2019, they say he became removed from his family, stayed in his home office, this here at the home in Annandale all day. Dirty laundry piled up, food boxes piled up. So we became a very different person after those allegations. It's also, last night was not the first time Fairfax police had been to this house here. He had actually called police back in January alleging abuse by his wife. They showed up to the house and they went and looked at camera footage that his wife had installed because of these divorce proceedings, and they found no evidence of abuse. They found that he, in fact, was not telling the truth about those allegations. We also know he owned a handgun. He was purchased a handgun in 2022 after he left his job as lieutenant governor because he no longer had the protection that was afforded to him in that position. He said he needed it for personal protection. Now, of course, we have no evidence to show that that was the handgun that was used in last night's event, but it's certainly an interesting fact as the investigation continues here, Hallie.
The current governor, Abigail Spanberger, put out a statement today saying this tragedy reminds us that domestic violence can occur in any family and in any place. I think it's important to remember that Fairfax, was close to potentially becoming Virginia's next governor until a series of scandals, including involving him, basically eliminated that possibility, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, back in 2018, 2019, people in Virginia and around the country were talking about him being a rising star in the Democratic Party, potentially becoming the next governor of the Commonwealth. That actually almost happened because of the blackface scandal that happened related to former Governor Ralph Northam, when several yearbook photos showed up of Ralph Northam wearing blackface. Folks called on him to resign. He never ended up doing that. Justin Fairfax never ended up becoming governor. But during that time period, 2 sexual abuse allegations, very serious allegations, came out from several years prior, almost 2 decades prior, that he was then called on to resign. He never did that either. We do have a statement from Senator Mark Warner. He's saying, you never know what's going on in any family, but I was talking to Tim. He's referring to Tim Kaine. He says, we're both shocked. He also says he was an enormous talent, and he just can't imagine what his family is going through, Hallie.
Gary Grumbach, live for us there in Northern Virginia tonight. Gary, thank you very much. We should note if you or somebody you know is in crisis, there is the suicide hotline, 988. You can also, if you're facing domestic violence, go to thehotline.org. Help is available 24/7. Tonight, let's talk about what else is happening across the country. This sweeping heat wave that's affecting basically half of the people who live in the continental United States. It is record-breaking. It is leaving millions of people with temperatures 15 to 30 degrees above average tonight. At the same time, you've got nearly 20 million people across the Midwest under flood alerts, with evacuations ordered in parts of Michigan. Look at that. More rain on the way. And there's a real concern here, officials say, that one dam is at real risk of breaking. That could be potentially problematic for the many people who live in that area. We've got team coverage tonight. Bill Cairns is standing by for more on the forecast. But let me start with Emily Aketa in New York City. Listen, I see the people out jogging and hanging out in shorts behind you. It is super hot, super early, but there's also the real risk of all this rain in other parts of the country, too.
Yeah, a whole lot of wild weather happening, especially with this scorcher coming so early in the year. But I first want to point your attention to Michigan, where there's a bit of an imminent threat. The governor describing that they are in crisis mode because they have received so much unrelenting rain. That, mixed with snowmelt, especially in northern parts of the state, are putting some of their dams at risk. They say crews are working around the clock to prevent the dams from failing and to prevent further flooding to the region, to neighborhoods. They're evacuating some residents in northern Michigan. Here's what the governor said earlier this afternoon. Take a listen.
Here in Sheboygan, we know that crews have been working incredibly hard to put down sandbags, place pumps, remove gates, restart the turbine, and increase the flow of water around and through the dam. We're continuing to explore more options to prevent dam failure and keep water from flowing over the dam. So many people have been working around the clock, and they're exhausted but determined to continue going.
And over the last couple of days, we've seen severe weather really threaten a whole host of different communities, including in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Kansas. There have been tornadoes, strong winds. In the Milwaukee Brewers game, some people saw some flooding inside the stadium, but then also outside of the stadium, stranding some drivers. It led to an immense amount of rain and incident calls. Officials there said that they received a month's worth of rain in the span in parts of the city in Milwaukee in just 1 to 2 hours or so. But the story today for tens of millions of people is the stifling heat. You can see a lot of people along the Hudson River where there is a bit of a cool breeze, so they're finding some relief here in this very early blast of summer, Hallie.
Emily Aketa, thank you very much. Let me bring in Bill Cairns now for more of the forecast, because it is real whiplash, Bill. Super hot, super early now, and then it's going to get real cold real quick.
Yeah, whenever we have these weather extremes kind of out of season, we always got some weird things going on. And one of them's happening right now in Massachusetts. So it hit 90 today in Connecticut. Western Mass is also 90. Look at the temperature in Boston. It's 47 degrees. So you could be in Boston. People have the heat on in their cars, heat on in their homes. And you could drive about a half hour and everyone's blasting the air conditioning. And that's all because the ocean temperatures are very cold this time of year still around Cape Cod and in the Bay. So the dramatic temperature drop is taking place already in the Rockies. It is snowing in Salt Lake City. Tomorrow, it's going to snow in Denver. Yes, you've just had your warmest winter ever, and you didn't have hardly any snow, but you're going to get some tomorrow. There's also the U.S. women's national team has a soccer game in Denver. Don't be surprised if it's snowing during that game tomorrow. And then we get the severe weather out ahead of this. But look at the snow that's going to fall. Areas of Wyoming and Colorado, I mean, we're going to be doing some plowing, especially at the higher elevations, and that's mostly during the day on Friday. Then as we go into the weekend, Chicago, your temperatures plummet by the time you get to Saturday. No snow, but your temperatures are coming back to reality. On Sundays, when it all heads to the East Coast, along with it, some rain showers. So the best day on the weekend is going to be Saturday for the East Coast. As far as severe weather, isolated today in the Mohawk Valley between Buffalo and Albany. But tomorrow's a dangerous day. Tomorrow's one of those days that you have to be weather aware and make sure if you get tornadoes in your area, you can get the warnings, especially in areas from Iowa into southern Wisconsin, because not only tornadoes, we have a chance of strong tornadoes at this time tomorrow. It looks like it's going to pop during the middle of the afternoon. It'll probably be going strong at this time tomorrow. We'll have coverage for you. Hopefully we're going to miss all these towns and cities, and hopefully they're all out in farmers' fields. But we do have one of those days where it is possible that we could have very serious ones going through towns, or hopefully not, Hallie, but you know how it goes. And so, again, the weekend forecast, that's Saturday. Then by Sunday, that arrives on the East Coast. Then next week, we're kind of back to normal. Everything, the extremes will kind of go away. But we have to get through tomorrow, and it could be a very dangerous day.
Well, that's one to watch. Bill Cairns, we'll look for more from you, I know, tomorrow. Appreciate that. Let's take you overseas now, where in just the last hour, a ceasefire was set to begin between Israel and Lebanon. The whole thing announced by President Trump. It's going to last 10 days if it lasts. And if it goes well, that could actually be a big help in these talks as the U.S. is looking to wind down the war against Iran. The president wants to host talks between Israel and Lebanon. He's praising the peace in just the last couple of hours. Watch this.
It's a very nice little package for about a week, and we're not going to have lots of bombs dropping, and we're going to see if we can make peace between Lebanon and Israel.
Remember, the attacks in Lebanon hadn't stopped, even after strikes stopped between the U.S. and Iran. You see a bridge here in the country that Israel blew up this morning. More than 2,000 people have died in Lebanon since the war began, with more than 1 million displaced from their homes. But hanging over this whole thing is a big question. With this ceasefire, is Hezbollah going to play ball? Remember, that's the Iran-backed militia group that Israel says it's really after. It's all meeting. Listen, you talk about the war, you talk about the situation in the Middle East, the markets, too. At this point, you see the winning streak continuing here. The S&P, the NASDAQ are hitting record highs, the Dow ticking up slightly. No huge moves, though, because of war news like we've seen in days past. Ali Canal is getting into that in a minute, but I want to start with Matt Bradley, who is live for us in Tel Aviv. And, Matt, to be clear, based on everything we know, for the U.S. to get to a deal with Iran, Israel's got to get to a deal with Lebanon that Hezbollah also has to come to terms with, right? Like, what's the reality check on something like that?
Yeah, a lot of moving parts here, Hallie, and we're about to see some clarity. And I think that what we've seen in the past couple of hours is that this ceasefire deal may or may not be holding. We had seen the Israelis doing what they typically do in the hours before these ceasefire deals come into effect. They did launch more strikes. They are, and they have been doing this in the past, trying to get an advantageous position before the ceasefire comes into effect. But, you mentioned, and this is important for our viewers, you mentioned all these other swirling diplomatic negotiations that are going around in addition to and alongside what we're seeing over Israel's northern border with Lebanon. The fact is that even as we're talking about this ceasefire deal between Lebanon and Israel that would include Hezbollah, that Hezbollah said that they blessed and that they were a part of, there's also kind of a parallel track going on in Washington where we saw Israeli diplomats to Washington meeting Lebanese diplomats to Washington. Not particularly high-level talks, but the first in maybe 30 years that we've seen in an official level. So that could move forward quite a bit as well. The thing that makes this ceasefire so different from the previous ones is that now the Israeli government is speaking directly to the Lebanese government. The Lebanese government has made it clear that they also want to see Hezbollah disarmed and possibly made illegal. I spoke with a Hezbollah leader just tonight, and he said that the issue of disarmament is completely off the table. That's what he would say. And he said that the ceasefire deal just goes to show that Hezbollah, with its weapons, was the only force in Lebanon that was capable of pushing the Israelis back, and that Lebanese people and the Lebanese government need Hezbollah. Now, in the coming days, weeks, months, we're likely to hear a very, very different assessment from the Lebanese government and probably from the Israeli government. Things have really changed in Lebanon. The Lebanese government seems very intent on reining in Hezbollah and possibly fully disarming them. As we heard from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tonight, was one of the parts of this deal. But whether or not that happens, as we've described, there are so many moving parts that are well beyond the borders of Lebanon and Israel and even Iran. So this is a very complicated set of diplomatic procedures that we're about to see.
Clearly. Matt Bradley, a line for us in the region. Matt, thank you very much. Let's bring in Hallie now. Here's what the president said in just the last couple of hours about all of this, and specifically, interestingly, on the economy, the thing we've been talking about so much, what this means for the price of oil and gas. Here's what he said on gas.
How much longer will Americans continue to see these high gas prices?
Well, they're not very high. If you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon.
Talk us through that. What's the reality check there on that, Hallie?
Well, the reality is that gas prices are still high, and they are significantly higher than from where we were pre-war. We still have oil prices trading around $90 a barrel. That has a direct impact on prices at the pump. Nationally, we're still well above $4 a gallon. You're seeing that on your screen right now. Last month, we were at $3.72. But guess what? February pre-war, we were below $3 a gallon. And we know that prices tend to rise really quickly. It's a lot harder to get those prices to come back down. Now, overall, when you look at the stock market gains, as you were alluding to earlier, yes, we are trading at these record highs. I think a lot of that was priced into the market because we've had this string of better than feared news over the past week or so. So markets seem to be taking a little bit of a breather. We've had this insane run up since the lows of the war. But with oil prices still high, with gas prices still high, there's still a big affordability question when you think about not just gas, but also the ripple effects into food, travel, and shipping costs as well.
How about this interesting report from the Wall Street Journal that's out that says the Pentagon wants car companies and some other manufacturers to help out more with making weapons because stockpiles have been depleted with the Ukraine and Iran wars. What's your sense? Are automakers, are car makers going to get behind that?
Yeah, really interesting report here. Ford, General Motors, they were both cited in this report. I reached out to both of them. Ford did not get back to me, but a GM spokesperson did. The car company telling me, quote, for more than 100 years, GM has supported America's security, safety, and those who protect our nation. While that commitment continues, we do not comment on speculation. So would neither confirm nor deny there. But if we zoom out, the Pentagon essentially asking if these geopolitical conflicts drag on, do we have enough supply? There is historical precedent here. Back in World War II, car companies literally stopped producing cars. They switched to military equipment. Now, we are not there yet. According to this report, this is all still early conversations, but it does go to show how seriously the government is thinking about some of these supply constraints, especially as, like you said, we're not just dealing with the war in Iran, but also the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Hallie?
Hallie Canal, thank you very much for that. Talking now about the fight, you could call it, between the president and the Pope, which the president says is not actually a fight at all. He says it's not personal, it's politics.
Nothing. I have no disagreement with the fact the Pope can say what he wants, and I want him to say what he wants, but I can disagree. I think that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Okay. Remember that soundbite there. Okay. President says we can disagree. Iran can have a nuclear. Just remember that. Here's Pope Leo XIV. He's in war-torn Cameroon, again pressing his anti-war rhetoric. He's decrying a world that is, in his words, ravaged by a handful of tyrants in his calls for peace.
Jesus told us, blessed are the peacemakers, but woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain, dragging that which is sacred into darkness and filth.
Okay, just a bit of a caution flag here. Can't stress this enough for you. It is very normal for the Pope, for his team, to write speeches for stuff like this way in advance. So, we shouldn't be interpreting the president to be one of those tyrants necessarily. So all this whole thing may be putting the Holy Family in the crosshairs. This is the Pope with his brothers. Police just today say everything is all clear after a bomb threat at his brother John's home in Illinois. To be clear, no evidence it is tied to anything related to this presidential spat, however. Let me bring in Gabe Gutierrez traveling with the president in Las Vegas. So a couple of things. First, we played that soundbite. President Trump says, I'm allowed to disagree with the Pope. Fact check, true. Of course he is. He then goes on to say, he doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. There's no evidence that we can find that the Pope wants Iran to have nuclear weapons either. But the whole thing is interesting in that you have some Republicans who would just rather the president focus on the economy. That's what he's trying to do in Vegas, even as he's taking questions on the Pope.
Yeah, that's right, Hallie. Look, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune earlier this week said that both the president and the Pope should stay in their own lanes. But President Trump keeps getting asked about it, and he keeps responding, as you said, falsely suggesting that the Pope has said that Iran could have a nuclear weapon. But the Pope himself is not backing down. You're right. The speech could have been written beforehand, but certainly a lot of people around the world taking those comments about him saying woe to those who manipulate religion without naming President Trump, certainly in this context, raise a lot of eyebrows around the world. But many Republicans do want the president to stick to his economic message. That is what the president is trying to do. He's set to speak here in just a short time in this roundtable, along with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And the administration is touting the benefits of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. This week, of course, is tax week. And here, as you can see behind me on big lettering, no tax on tips. The president and his administration saying that more than 53 million Americans have claimed some of those tax cuts, those signature tax cuts that the administration is so proud of. But here in Nevada, it is really a mixed story. Certainly the president has many supporters here who are agreeing and thanking him for that policy of no tax on tips, but also gas prices, Hallie, as you were just discussing previously, they're very high here in Nevada, one of the highest across the country. We visited several gas stations, some of them approaching $5 gas for regular unleaded, one of them at $5.09. And here's what we heard from one of those Americans who were filling up their tank today. Let's listen.
How surprising has it been to see these gas prices rise this quickly?
It's been a big surprise. I know, with the war and everything that's going on, it's kind of hurting a lot of stuff that goes on over here. So we just, try to make ends meet, try to do what we have to do to survive.
The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying yesterday that the administration hopes that gas could be back down to $3 a gallon or so by the end of summer. Certainly some Americans skeptical of that, according to polling. But right here, this is a very supportive crowd, Hallie, and the president, again, trying to hit that economic message despite handling all that uncertainty over the war against Iran.
Gabe Gutierrez, lots to juggle on your beat tonight live for us in Vegas. Gabe, thank you. So listen, in just the last few hours, we have seen the first state charges now against an ICE agent involved in that federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota earlier this year. A prosecutor there is accusing this agent of pointing a gun right at two people inside a car while he drove alongside them on the shoulder in an unmarked SUV. He is now charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon. There's a warrant out for his arrest. He was part of Operation Metro Surge. You remember that? That's when the president deployed 3,000 federal agents to Minnesota. 2 people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were shot and killed by immigration officials during that period. The Department of Homeland Security did not immediately return our request for comment. Let's bring in Ryan Riley, who's joining us now. Can you help us understand this a little bit? Who's bringing the charges, what we're learning here, and whether this is just the beginning?
Yeah, so this is the county attorney who announced these charges, which makes it this sort of really interesting and unique scenario where you have a county prosecutor bringing charges against federal agents. And the question now becomes, what response will the Trump administration have to that? Are they going to stand by the officer? Are they going to try to move this to federal court? Just a lot of questions raised by this. But here's some of what the prosecutor had to say.
Mr. Morgan then visibly slowed his vehicle to match the pace of the victim's vehicle, opened his window and pointed his duty weapon directly at both victims in the other vehicle while continuing to drive illegally on the shoulder. Both the driver and the passenger in the victim's vehicle felt threatened by Mr. Morgan's actions.
And she, called that behavior extremely dangerous. But this is obviously, I think, one of those cases that's going to be really closely watched. And I think that response from the Justice Department, from the Trump administration regarding what handles here, or whether they defend the officer is going to be something to really watch closely.
Okay, Ryan Riley, keep an eye on that one for us. Thank you very much for the updates. Got a lot more ahead tonight, including Al Roker joining us live right after his brand new interview with the whole Artemis II crew, what they're telling him about their time in space. Plus, the prison sentence for a man convicted of smuggling ants. We're getting into that next. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a small plane has crashed in Kentucky in an emergency landing late today. Fortunately, officials say both passengers are okay, but you see the plane there, nose down. No word yet on what caused the crash or why the emergency landing was needed. Number 2, former NBA player Damon Jones planning to plead guilty to federal charges, according to court documents obtained today by NBC News. Jones is part of that sports gambling scandal, wrapping in a bunch of current and former NBA players' arrests. Feds accuse him of providing inside information to gamblers, including info on LeBron James, who is not accused of wrongdoing. Jones initially pleaded not guilty last year. He's set to be back in court later this month. Number 3, officials over at FIFA are pushing back today after New Jersey leaned on him to pay for the cost of getting to World Cup matches in the state later this year. FIFA says they're surprised to hear that from the governor. We covered this on the show. Remember, tickets might have been like $100 on New Jersey Transit. FIFA says they don't know of any global sports organizations that have had to pay for fans to travel to games. The governor of New Jersey, you see her there, has clapped back a couple of times now online. She says people in her state will not foot this nearly $50 million bill to get to and from games. Number 4, a judge in Kenya has just sentenced this man to a year behind bars for ant trafficking. Take a look. He was found guilty of illegally possessing live ants. So they're in like these little mini tubes. They look like little capsules. He has previously pleaded guilty to the charges against him. That's a lot of ants in capsules. Number 5, meet Punch the Monkey 2.0, kind of. Sort of. This is Yuji. He's from Mexico, but just like Punch, he's not letting go of his favorite stuffy there. Yuji was abandoned by his mom, and keepers say this toy is basically filling that role, filling that void. There's some science behind it, too. They're apparently used to help baby monkeys like Yuji developmentally so he can get stronger and meet the rest of his pals at the zoo. Very adorable. Also tonight, we are hearing from the Artemis II astronauts all together now after their splash down to Earth from that historic moon mission. It is so incredible. They are so incredible. The whole thing is amazing. They're like getting deep. They're getting philosophical. They're really kind of peeling back the curtain. Watch this.
When the sun eclipsed behind the moon, I think all 4 of us, I turned to Victor and I said, I don't think humanity has evolved to the point of being able to comprehend what we are looking at right now.
The crew, of course, splashing down. It was only 6 days ago that happened after their 10 days in space, going farther than any human has ever gone up there. And we're learning a fabulous detail that we obviously had to share. Christina Koch bringing something incredibly special to her and to us. Confetti from the Eagles' Super Bowl win, Super Bowl 59. She flew confetti from that Super Bowl around the moon. Go Birds, babe. How could we not? We love this. We love it. We also love Al Roker, who separately, not Eagles related, but got to sit down with this crew today in this amazing interview. Watch some of this.
Take us back to the moment after you've landed in the Pacific and that hatch opens up. What was that like?
The Navy has shared some video from the outside going in, and we're trying to download our video. If you look at the end of that, I'm holding up my iPhone like I'm some sports spectator at this cavalry coming to rescue us.
The adrenaline started pumping, and when that hatch opened, I was completely overcome, and I just screamed. I was so happy. It was just pure elation and just a visceral emotional reaction to not only being home, but people there coming to us and bringing us out. Unspeakable joy.
We really wanted this to be about humanity going on this journey with us. And that idea about togetherness, you know, it's one thing to message that, to say that, hey, this is what we want to do. But to have people respond to how we operated together.
Guess who's with us now from Johnson Space Center in Houston? Al, you got to talk to them. It is so cool. It's so exciting. I will tell you that when Reed Weissman started talking about coming back to Earth with the heat shield holding, he's looking out the window. I'm like, I can't even imagine. You're coming back. You're flying through this thing. You're like, does this thing hold? What was it like for them? What did they tell you about that?
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting, Hallie, in that, look, we all were like holding our breath because there's going to be that period of time where there was no radio communication for like 6 minutes. And there was some concern. In fact, the pilot, Victor Glover, talks about that and told me what he and Reed were seeing. Check it out.
I could tell that we were inside a fireball, but Reed and I had panoramic views.
We really did.
And the very first thing I thought was, is it supposed to be that big? And it was a lot of fire out there. And it lasted for a long time. And it just, at some point, I just started looking across the entire flame going, well, it looks the same. And then I think we noticed very similar at the same time, little pieces flying out. But then there was a red glow in the orange, a very distinct red and bigger plume, which we later decided might be where the separation bolt interface was melting off. But I mean, we were just, I was hyper sensitive to everything, every noise, every sensation.
Yeah, and so it was really amazing. And then they landed, and Christina Cook talked about while they were waiting for the Navy divers to get to them, Navy swimmers, she had snuck down. She had snuck in the capsule some M&Ms. And they say, hey, anybody want a snack? So she's handing out M&Ms while they're waiting for the hatch to open up.
Astronaut, they really are just like us. I have M&Ms on set like every day. I'm obsessed with this. So let me ask you this. You were there. I mean, I just, an indelible memory will be you and Tom watching this as it happened. Just incredible moments when we saw the takeoff, the splashdown, et cetera. What did they say to you that surprised you? Did you hear anything from this conversation that you went, I'm shocked to hear that?
Well, I don't know if I was shocked, but they were saying that they had grown so close with each other that they were going through withdrawal over these last few days because they haven't been together. When I was talking to them, it was the first time they'd been together in like 6 days. So they really miss each other. But the other thing that I think they were taken aback, because a lot of them tried to be present with their families, was that how much this mission meant to so many, not just here in America, but around the world. And I think that they realized that the Artemis mission has brought people together, that, that we could all find something to all root for. And, when you listen to them talk for a long period of time, you realize they're beyond astronauts. They're almost like philosophers. They're very philosophical about this and about the team, not just them, but the big picture team from NASA, where literally almost 100,000 hands have touched that capsule and that space vehicle to get them to where they were and around and back again.
It's like what it takes to get us live on the air, Al. I'm not quite 100. Can I ask, behind the scenes, Al, they seem so close. Are they like that for real? Like when you were watching them interact as you were sitting down, et cetera, that camaraderie feels so real watching it. What's it like in person?
It is. They are truly a team. They are a family. Look, I first met them 3 years ago, and they were pretty cohesive right off the bat. But now they are inseparable. They can almost finish each other's sentences. They just instinctively pick up from each other. I'm just so impressed with all of them. Victor was here with his daughters, as was Reed, and I will tell you the one thing, Hallie. I want somebody to love me. I think my wife Deborah loves me as much as Christina Cook's dog loves her.
You saw that, the viral video. Although some people did say if she was gone for 5 minutes, the dog would have the same reaction, but I don't think so. I think 10 days, it's totally different when you know your owner's been to space. We know Deborah loves you that much. Al Roker, we're so excited to have you with us. Thank you. We're thrilled to hear about your conversation with those four. We're going to look for more of it coming up tonight. Al, thank you. On Nightly News, 6:30 Eastern, of course. And then tomorrow on Today, Al's big interview. Also tonight, let's take you up to the sky because the future of Spirit Airlines is apparently up in the air. They could reportedly be sold off for parts, shutting down. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice in less than a year, and there was that failed merger with JetBlue a couple years ago. Now, multiple sources are telling Bloomberg and CNBC that Spirit could decide to liquidate as early as this week. Spirit tells NBC News, we don't comment on market rumors and speculation. Keep in mind that the spiking cost of fuel means a new pinch for the airline, and it's not just Spirit dealing with those sky-high costs. Christine Romans is watching it all for us.
Hey, Hallie, more trouble for Spirit Airlines. The company's in bankruptcy. It's been in bankruptcy twice in the past year and a half. And now you have the war with Iran spiking jet fuel prices. Jet fuel prices have nearly doubled since the war in Iran began about 7 weeks ago. And that is a significant cost for airlines, especially a struggling airline like Spirit. CNBC and Bloomberg News quoting sources saying that the company could be close to liquidation as early as this week. That's different than bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is when you're in the protection of the court and you're trying to find a way through your troubles. Liquidation means the road is over. It's the end. You are selling the planes. You are selling all of the assets, and you're paying your investors and you're paying your creditors. So that's really the end of the road. It would be the end of the road. NBC News asked the company to comment. They say they do not comment on rumors or speculation, but clearly a difficult time ahead here for Spirit. So we talked to the folks at Going. It's a travel expert website about what people should do if you have a ticket on Spirit. What should you do? And they told us, don't cancel the ticket. If you cancel the ticket, you might not get a refund. If you keep the ticket and the company goes into liquidation, then you have a better chance of getting a refund. We also asked, should you book travel on Spirit? And they said, no, you shouldn't unless you think you're not going to get paid back. Also, that this is a competition issue as well. You've got airfares that are rising, again, because of the jet fuel issue. You've got baggage fees that are rising because of jet fuel costs. And you want to have low-cost carriers in the mix. That helps competition and keeps prices low for everyone. So that's the other side. Even if you're not a fan of Spirit, even if you don't fly Spirit, you want, these travel experts tell us, you want Spirit in the mix. You want low-cost carriers in the mix because they keep competition up for everyone, which keeps fares down. Back to you.
Christine Romans, thank you. Coming up, how one hockey team ended up hosting a fundraiser for the family of a man convicted of manslaughter, or at least promoting it. Plus, the wild police chase on horseback, the moment an officer and his steed caught an alleged thief. New audio into us tonight from New Mexico police, releasing a new recording from an initial interview with actor Timothy Busfield and his wife, where he denied sexually abusing children. Listen.
Never anything of any sexual, any weird ever.
Right.
With them. Just that's disgusting.
Right.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Remember, Busfield is accused of inappropriately touching two boys on the set of a show he was directing from 2022 to 2024. He's now facing 4 counts of criminal sexual contact of a child and has pleaded not guilty to the charges. If Busfield's not a household name in your home, some of the shows he was on may have been The West Wing, 30-something, etc. Camila Bernal is following this story for us. Talk to us about the release of this call and what it signifies about the investigation here.
Yeah, Hallie. So this is actually the first time that he realizes that this is something that has gone to police, and even tells the detective this and says, well, I didn't realize that people had gone to police about this. And basically the detective is asking him to explain Hollywood to him, to explain how it was like on set. What did he do? Was he with the children? Was he ever alone with the children? He says, no, there's always someone there. And then the detective also asked him, did you tickle the children? And he says, it wouldn't be uncommon. I don't necessarily remember, but it's not uncommon. So then the wife jumps into the conversation, and take a listen to what she told police.
I'm going to just jump in here, too, as the former kid actor. It's really important that the kids feel comfortable with the people they're working with. So it's just standard practice to become as friendly with them as possible so that they trust you, so they open up on screen.
And both of them obviously have defended all of these allegations. Trial is set for next year, so we'll see what happens, Hallie.
Camila Bernal live for us there in L.A. Camila, thank you very much. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Northeast Bureau, look at this new video of a police officers there saving a woman's life on the side of the road in New Jersey. You see an officer giving her CPR. Police say she had a heart attack while driving and hit a pole. She is fine now. She later reunited with the officers to thank them. Out of our Midwest Bureau, a pretty bizarro coincidence in Illinois. A Titanic exhibit at a local museum, you see it, flooded on the same date that the actual ship sank back in 1912. The owner says there were storms the night before, but only that part of the museum ended up taking on water. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, this New York City cop, can we say it, not horsing around. Look.
Stop! Please stop! Stop! Stop running!
They're going fast. He's an officer on horseback, obviously, chasing down this suspected purse thief in Manhattan. He was on patrol when the person whose purse it was, got the attention of the officer by yelling for help. Eventually, the suspect was caught with the help of somebody nearby, and the purse was later returned. Also tonight, some big questions in the hockey world over how a team ended up raising money for the family of a former police officer convicted of manslaughter. Let's bring up to speed here. I want to show you here Eric Duran, sentenced just last week to at least 3 years in prison for the killing of 30-year-old Eric Dupre. Back in 2023, Duran was in the New York City Police Department, tried to arrest Dupre during a drug bust. Dupre fled on a scooter, one of those electric scooters. So Duran threw a filled-up cooler at him. The cooler hit Dupre, causing him to crash into a tree. And police say Dupre died instantly. Members of the NYPD protested the conviction. They allege it discourages officers from doing their jobs. Duran plans to appeal. Here's where the hockey team comes in, the New York Islanders. They flashed a QR code on the scoreboard asking fans to send money to the convicted killer's family. Marquise Francis joins us now, and I know we're out to kind of everybody involved on this. The victim's family frustrated, reportedly, about this flashing of the on-screen fundraiser, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Hallie. We reached out to pretty much everyone involved in this situation, and we've only heard back from the attorney from the victim's family, which I will get to in a bit. But to answer your question on how did the Islanders or why did they even do this? Well, according to the Associated Press, it was someone from the New York Post that informed the president of the police union that the Islanders wanted to do something about this. I want to pull up a full screen to show you. On the left side of this full screen, you can see the president of the police union, Vincent Vallelong, alongside the Islanders co-owner, John Ledecky, right there on the left side of the screen. All the way on the right side, what you just noted, you see a picture of Eric Duran along with the QR code where people in the arena could directly donate to the defense fund for Duran that was launched on Monday. Underneath, you can see the words "Fight for Justice." And then in the middle, the Islanders said that a portion of the 50-50 raffle would be donated directly to the defense fund. And according to the Islanders, they raised nearly $45,000. Now, this afternoon, I spoke to the attorney for the victim's family and asked him how the family was doing. And he actually said he didn't speak to them about it because he didn't want to re-traumatize them. But he did offer his own reaction. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think it's outrageous. I mean, this is what the New York Islanders chooses as their charity, somebody who's been convicted of manslaughter. Maybe they should consider hosting another fundraiser for the children that are now left fatherless of Eric Dupre.
And Hallie, this is the first time in about 20 years that an NYPD officer is facing jail time for an on-duty killing. Hallie?
Marquise Francis, thank you very much for that. Coming up here on the show, how the Triumphal Arch just got one step closer to being built in the nation's capital. That's next. President Trump now one step closer to putting an everlasting mark on the nation's capital, another one. And we're not talking about politics here. The U.S. Fine Arts Commission voted today yes on these designs. Here they are for his Triumphal Arch. This is basically a green light for this huge sort of physical structure that has created a huge let's say, emotional controversy, I think, in Washington. They got like 1,000 public comments urging the commission to shoot it down. Why? Well, look, it's very large. It would be the tallest arch in the world if it's built. You can see how it stacks up against some other sites on the National Mall. It'll tower over the Lincoln Memorial. It's going to be like kind of close to the size of the Capitol building, about half the height of the Washington Monument. There still has to be a final vote, but this is a big step. The victories come the same day, however, that a federal judge blocked any above-ground construction on another big project for the president, the East Wing Ballroom. The administration is already appealing. Let me bring in, what do you call it, resident architectural correspondent these days,
Exactly.
Andrea Mitchell. Andrea,
I actually studied architecture.
so you're the perfect person to talk about this. Walk us through the sort of public outcry around the arch here. The president seems very committed to it.
There's even a lawsuit from veterans who say that it really destroys the sanctity of a memorial site.
Because it's close to Arlington National Cemetery.
Well, it's basically
right?
on the circle, and it will block the view of the Eternal Flame with John F. Kennedy's memorial. It'll block the view from Washington of the Eternal Flame. You will not be able to see the, Arlington Cemetery from the district. And it's very, very big. It's on that circle right by the Memorial Bridge, which is actually a very busy roundabout. And the president wanted it to be the biggest in the world. He was inspired by the Arc de Triomphe when they were in Paris on Bastille Day, when he was first president. He wanted to remember the parade.
Yeah.
And then they learned that the tanks could not go on the parade, so he had to delay the parade that he wanted. But we're seeing now in his second term that he is, as you say, putting his imprint on Washington architecturally, with his signature on the currency, with all of the other, ways that he is building a legacy. And it's still, and by the way, this Fine Arts Commission, which voted, was stacked with his appointees. So he took the regular people off of it.
You talk about the president seeking to build a legacy here in Washington quite physically with his construction projects. You got to ask about the ballroom, because there was a setback on that today, although the Trump administration says they'll appeal, right?
Yeah, this is federal judge Richard Leone, and he had a blistering opinion rejecting it. They came back and appealed, basing it on security for the president and his family, because there is a bunker underneath it, a little hospital unit, and it will have bulletproof glass and all sorts of other things. And so they said that they wanted to, in this appeal to the Third Circuit, have it built because of security. He came back and said, you can keep building underground, but not above ground, and basically didn't buy their security argument, but said, okay, build the bunker, but hold off on the ballroom until we hear the appeals. But none of this is going to change for the next couple of days, 1 week. So the cranes are still building. He's held it up so that they can file their appeal.
Okay, interesting. Andrea Mitchell, thank you very much for the updates on that. Plenty to watch. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, Victoria Beckham speaking for the first time about that feud with her son that exploded into public. We'll tell you what we're hearing from her tonight next. Victoria Beckham now speaking for the first time publicly since her oldest son went public on the rift with his family. She's telling the Wall Street Journal now that we've always tried to be the best parents we can be. She says we've been in the public eye for more than 30 years right now, and all we've ever tried to do is love and protect our children. Remember, earlier this year, Brooklyn Beckham went after the former Spice Girl and her soccer star husband, David Beckham, in a series of explosive Instagram posts, claiming they tried to bribe him to sign away the rights to his name before he married his now wife, and that his mom, he claims, danced inappropriately with him at their wedding, adding his parents value public promotion and endorsements above all else. Well, we don't know exactly what went on behind the scenes. We do know that there is a lot of money on the line for brand Beckham. The couple is worth about $500 million combined, built from her fashion brand and his endorsement deals and owning that Major League Soccer team. Zainal Hamamdjian is in London following all of this. Victoria Beckham here, it seems to have chosen her words carefully now, speaking publicly, because as we've laid out, it's not just personal for them. It could, because their personal life is also so intertwined with their public and business life. That's part of this, too, the business aspect.
Absolutely, Hallie. And bear in mind where this was published. This was in the Wall Street Journal. Victoria Beckham is many things, but she's also by now a very savvy businesswoman. And she gave this interview to the Wall Street Journal to promote her upcoming collection with The Gap, where she's teaming up with The Gap. But of course, there's this elephant in the room, and that is the public rift with her eldest of 4 children, Brooklyn Beckham. So it was inevitable that she was going to be asked about it. As you say, she said, all we've ever tried to do is protect our children and love our children. She doesn't actually directly reference Brooklyn, which is interesting, but it's worth reminding viewers here of what else Brooklyn Beckham said back in January in that lengthy post. He said, "My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family, quote unquote, love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations." Now, her 27-year-old son there effectively cutting ties with the family, accusing his parents of projecting this family closeness for commercial gain. We did reach out to Brooklyn Beckham, how we have yet to hear back. David Beckham, his father, was in Davos back in January. He didn't directly comment on this specific issue. He did talk about social media and children in general, and he said children are allowed to make mistakes. The Beckhams, as you know, Hallie, are extraordinarily popular, not only here in the UK, but around the world. And Victoria Beckham was a pop star. She's now an established designer. And so for a lot of people, there is an entertainment value here. People have debated which camp they're in. But at the very core here is a very private matter between a father and a mother and their son. And so it's sad. So hopefully in time, they can patch things up and find peace. But for now, it is still quite tense, it appears, between the Beckhams and their son.
Clearly. Danielle Hamamjid, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for watching. That's a wrap for this hour. I will see you on Sunday on Nightly News at a special time. We're on at 5 o'clock Eastern this weekend. And there we will begin our series of special reports from New Mexico on Jeffrey Epstein's former ranch, Zorro Ranch, where at least 10 girls and women say they were groomed and assaulted by Epstein dating back decades. The new investigation by state lawmakers, our conversations with survivors, and a closer look at what many say were missed opportunities for justice. Again, Sunday on Nightly News. We'll have more right here Monday on this show, NBC News Now. More coverage picks up right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.